Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, October 2nd. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. I'm your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by both CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What's up, guys?
Hello, friends. How are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome back, CJ. Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, missed show 250. That was unfortunate.
I don't know. It was very bad, but I was celebrating for you guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went to a bar, found some guys that actually watched the show. So, I was like, hey, let me get in good spirits. And then, other things happened. But, I'm glad you guys made the show. You guys sound so good. You sound so awesome.
Thank you.
He didn't listen to the show.
He probably didn't listen to it.
No, I stopped. I mean, I'm like 30 seconds in. It sounded good though.
Wow.
Great. Thanks.
Anyway, Jason, how you doing?
Welcome.
I'm doing all right. It's a really, really good Monday Night Football game I just got done watching.
Oh yeah, it was really good.
Awesome.
There you go.
Oh, you went back and
I love how the Chiefs are doing this whole. You know what? We don't need a defense this year. Just don't need one. Who needs a defense?
They stood up a little bit. That one interception towards the end of the game, that the guy yanked the ball from that dude. That was pretty dope.
Sure.
And it was his first pick. That's pretty impressive.
They couldn't stop the run game to save their life.
Oh no, they could definitely could not do that.
It's like going back, what was it, like 6 or 7 years ago, where it was Saints and the Patriots that were just like the 31st and 32nd ranked defenses, but their offenses were so good they both made it to the Super Bowl. Like that kind of craziness that they're trying to replicate, apparently. And really the whole NFL on record pace, the pace of touchdowns. I remember this time last year talking about how low the touchdowns were compared to the previous year in 2016. This year in 2018, the touchdowns are back up. The scoring is at a high in NFL history, so it's great for fantasy football.
60% of that is just the Rams and the Chiefs, though. That's
that's
what's going on.
Well, I mean, that's good offenses to have pieces of then, isn't it? So,
absolutely.
There you go.
There you go. Some pro tips. But, yeah, that's all stuff that we'll be recapping in a minute. Let's make sure we get through why we're all here. Of course, we're here today to talk about the studs and duds from week number 4. We'll be recapping what happened, the top waiver wire targets for week number 5, all the top headlines from around the league. As always, make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening. We're all over the web. Just search for the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast. You'll probably find us. That's on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Podcast Bean, YouTube, you name it, the works. Also, if you want to support the show, help us keep these lights on and keep us doing what we're doing, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. We appreciate that a ton. And with that, let's get into these studs and duds. I mean, we already recapped a little bit, actually. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about from week 4? Because that was the warm-up that we were just kind of blowing past. But anything you guys want to talk about? Like how we had so many overtime games and how the Colts blew a chance to at least walk away with a tie and all this other stuff?
I mean, I feel like we're going to kind of get into this even more with these studs and duds. So let's just keep moving on.
Yeah, I think it gives us an opportunity.
Fair enough. All right, studs and duds, here we come. Starting at the quarterback position, your number 1 quarterback on the week. Nobody saw this coming. It was a good matchup, but I don't think anybody saw it like this. Mitchell Trubisky, 55.46 fantasy points, 354 yards, 6 passing touchdowns. He added on another 53 yards rushing. The dude was unstoppable. Probably could have done more if the game was close and they were being more aggressive. I mean, just holy crap. Guys, Mitchell Trubisky, is he real, or is this just that good of a matchup?
I think the matchup was just too good to be true. I mean, because the Bucks, if you go back and look at the Bucks and you look at their stats, man, they're secondary and their defense is just giving up the cookies. This has been their offense that's been able to keep pace, and then their defense just gets put in certain positions where all they need to make is like one stop so their offense can keep going. And this is one of those positions where the Bears defense is really good and the Bucks defense is not so good. So it was like the Bears had more chances to be able to put these numbers up, and Trubisky had a heck of an opportunity, and he went out there and he shined, man.
Yeah, I mean, the game was at home in Chicago. The Buccaneers are another one of those teams that are trying to seemingly get it done on offense, though their offense couldn't get going in this game. Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky, I'm not going to say that this is something we're going to see every week going forward, but it's a nice step to see in his progression.
Yeah. Agree.
All right, Jared Goff was number 2, 49.3 fantasy points, 465 yards, 5 passing touchdowns. We all saw that on Thursday Night Football. What an unbelievable performance and game. That was just a great game. So, yeah, Jared Goff continuing to show that he is he's pretty legit, especially when he gets momentum going, and he's on fire at those times. He's very hard to shut down. That entire Rams offense, Sean McVay is a genius. We're seeing it all the time. So yeah, Jared Goff, a nice piece to have, and one of those late round quarterbacks that you can get. I wonder why I always say to go late round. Number 3, Andrew Luck, a guy you could not get late round. Well, maybe in some leagues because of the injuries. 43.66 fantasy points, 464 yards and 4 touchdowns, getting it done. Just a monster performance. So, yeah, and we saw him actually airing it out a little bit this time, so showing a little bit of the arm strength slightly returning. So that's a good sign for Andrew Luck owners out there. Those are your top performers. Other notable top performers, Derek Carr actually got it going. 39.58 fantasy points. Did not see that coming, though at home against the Browns. Kirk Cousins, 37.68 fantasy points. Matt Ryan, 35.26. Those were your top performers at the quarterback position. Running back position, Alvin Kamara getting it done as per usual. 36.1 fantasy points, 134 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Added another 5 receptions on 9 targets for 47 yards through the air. Getting it done kind of backwards as to how he normally does it. Normally he gets it done through the air. Guys, so we all know Alvin Kamara is a phenomenal talent. There's no denying that. We've been talking about that all offseason since last year. But what happens now that Ingram's coming back? He's coming back from the suspension. What do you guys think?
You got to stay with what you got going. I mean, Alvin Kamara is playing on another level. I mean, if he continues this consistently through this year, we'll be talking about this guy being one of the top 3 running backs in the league next year. I'll be the first to say I'm very impressed with what I've seen through the first 4 weeks with Alvin Kamara, and I've been the biggest detractor from Alvin Kamara on the show. But if he can continue doing this consistently, then I will absolutely eat crow and say I was completely wrong about Alvin Kamara.
CJ?
Hey man, I think this is what the guy's proven that he was going to be that dude. He wanted to take the load and put the carries on them. They end up picking up another running back before the season started. But this dude has just been phenomenal, man. That's what I said Sean Payton was going to do, man. He was going to feed the ball through this guy, not only through the air, but also on the ground. And look at him. He's just been putting up great numbers, and I don't expect anything to change. Maybe the touches or, maybe the rushing yards, and they'll probably use Ingram that way. But Alvin Kamara is definitely going to be a factor on this offense, and that should not be any concern on anybody that his touches are going to go down.
See, I'm still slightly concerned because his touch totals have not been at an elite level when it comes to running. I don't remember his touches all this year, but I know last year he never topped 12. He has that 19, which I believe is his career high this week, never getting to 20, so he's not getting an elite amount of work, but he is getting an elite amount of production. So, I mean, he gets it done both on the ground and through the passing game. Ingram coming back is scary because that's going to take away some production, some touches, some goal line work most likely. So you have to wonder if this is really a downgrade or if they're just going to use him more creatively, and maybe that'll make him even more dangerous on the opportunities he does gets. We will see, but we saw all last year that with Ingram there, he still got it done. So, I mean, he's one of those talents that seemingly is just breaking the statistical approach to fantasy football, like Jamal Charles. Like, we always make that comparison. These explosive guys that just unbelievable efficiency through their careers. It's way too early to say that for Alvin Kamara, but through basically a season now, because he's got started late in his first season to now, he's been very, very good. There's no denying that. So, yeah, Alvin Kamara, he is proving that he is the real deal, and we will see how things change in the coming weeks. Ezekiel Elliott coming back and showing that he's a thing. 30 fantasy points, 152 yards. Also got 88 yards through the air and a receiving touchdown, so getting it done there. A sign of life from this Dallas Cowboys offense. Guys, are you excited about this news, or do you think this was just the Lions defense kind of returning to what we had seen through weeks 1 and 2, where the defense was so-so, and then they just turned it on against the Patriots in week 3?
I think we've seen so far where Dallas, it struggles against really good defenses, and then that's when we'll be able to see kind of where they are. But I think I think they're position players. Of course, you got to start Zeke. I mean, just the way you drafted him, you can't afford to sit him. But I think you're not going to really see anything as far as shine from this offense on a consistent basis, unless they're going against average defenses. You can't really trust them going up against good defenses because you see what they'll be able to put up. I mean, Zeke is putting up okay numbers. And then when he goes against, not so good defenses, he put up numbers like this. So I think you just gotta, you gotta take it how you get it, basically.
Yep. Jason, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you look at what the Cowboys have been able to do through the air, and they haven't done anything through the air pretty much. I mean, 170 yards, 160 yards, 168 yards, and then this Detroit game has been their best game by far with 255 yards through the air. That's not good. That is not a good high efficiency offense.
No.
So Zeke's got to be the guy. So I think this bodes well as far as Zeke's going to continue getting the rock and being pretty much the entire offense.
I think he's going to keep getting a lot of volume. I mean, he had 4 receptions and 25 rushing attempts, almost 30 touches in the game.
Only way to move the ball on that offense.
Yeah, the
obvious.
obvious. Exactly. The obvious problem here is that defenses are just going to stack the box and spy him the whole time. So it's going to be rough sledding for him, especially with some of the news that we'll be talking about him very, very soon. So, Ezekiel Elliott, your number 2 running back on the week. Mike Davis coming out of absolutely nowhere. Chris Carson sat. Everybody thought fire up Rashad Penny. Nope. Mike Davis, 24.4 fantasy points, 21 attempts, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, added another 23 yards to the air, catching all 4 of his targets.
Such a Pete Carroll move.
I hate Seattle so much right now. I don't have any shares of Rashad Penny.
So is Earl Thomas. There we go. We're all together.
He showed them as much too. Too soon.
Too soon?
So soon.
Sorry, just trying to break news here.
That's why Le'Veon Bell's holding out, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But Mike Davis, he did a great thing there, and now it's looking extra cluttered in Seattle for the running backs, and we'll talk about that more when we get to the running back section. But basically sell high.
Exactly.
Melvin Gordon, 23.9 fantasy points. Kareem Hunt, Jason's start of the week, 23.5. Tariq Cohen, 23.4. James Washington, 23.2. Nick Chubb, 22.5. And Giovanni Bernard, 21.6. My start of the week. Those are all your top performers at the position. Wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, we saw it on Thursday Night Football, 28.2 fantasy points, 162 yards and 2 touchdowns, catching 9 of 11 targets, being a monster, not just in the short intermediate PPR type production, but also going intermediate to deep routes. He was insane. Cooper Kupp on fire. Golden Tate, 25.2 fantasy points, catching all 8 of his targets for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. That seems like an unsustainable pace for a PPR wide receiver, but I mean, hey, that is a phenomenal stat line. Do you guys think he's able to get this yardage total going forward? I don't think so with Jones and Galladay there. What about you guys?
I think it's possible. I mean, you're talking about he's been great in the past. You know, I mean, he had a down year last year when Marvin Jones came forward, but suddenly he comes out again. And Matthew Stafford has definitely has the arm to be able to support more than one number 1 wide receiver, in my opinion. So I think it's possible. I wouldn't count on it, though.
No, I mean, I think he has games like this, but I don't think this is something season long you're going to be expecting, seeing him going, for 8 catches for 132 yards. And, 2 scores maybe. The score, I don't think he's going to average 2 touchdowns, but I could see him being a red zone weapon, but that's more Kenny Galladay's realm. So if you started him, great. You're super happy about it. I don't know that I'm buying in season long as this set him and forget him type guy that some analytics and analysts out there are trying to make the argument for right now. I don't see it that way. Taylor Gabriel showing that he's still alive in the league as well. 23.4 fantasy points, catching all 7 of his targets for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also added 1 rushing attempt for 10 yards. Phenomenal performance from a guy who we've known is very talented, but his ceiling has always been somewhat capped. But hey, if you can get a guy who gets 7 targets and he catches them all, that's a great stat line for your fantasy team. DeAndre Hopkins, 22.9. Corey Davis, 22.1. Adam Thielen, 19.5. Amari freaking Cooper, 18.8. Look, he's
There it is.
he's unbelievably infuriating to own.
There it is.
There's no denying that. The touchdown that he scored, it was a busted zone coverage. I mean, there was like 4 guys all around him, and nobody was actually on him. It was the funniest thing to watch. So, this is my honest advice. Sell him now. He just went off for almost 20 points. He's got a name. Sell him for whatever you can get for him, because this is not going to be a weekly occurrence. I do not believe. What do you guys think? Jason agrees. CJ, what do you think?
Absolutely. Get rid of him.
Sell this guy.
If you can get him for a kicker, go for the kicker.
Look, I don't know about that, but it's one of those things like, yeah, you'll kick yourself the 1 or 2 other weeks this season where he has a good week, but the headache that you're going to have trying to figure out when to start this guy and all the weeks that he's going to sink you, we have seen nothing to give us confidence at this point through the John Gruden era. He looks like the exact same player he was last year, and it just is not good. So I would rather be someone else's headache than mine, whether he has good weeks in the future or not. And you guys agree, I'm sure, so let's move on. Tight ends, top studs of the week. Jared Cook, 23 fantasy points. Jason sit of the week. 7 for 10, 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nobody saw that coming. Monster performance. It's okay because George Kittle was next. My sit of the week, 18.5 fantasy points, catching all 5 of his targets for 73 yards and a touchdown. One of the only nobody saw all the injuries and the way that game played out with San Francisco. The Chargers they've been statistically amazing against tight ends. Nope, not this week. And it was bad.
Exactly.
Goodwin going down didn't help things either. But however, I redeemed myself with my start of the week. Trey Burton, 14.6 fantasy points, 114 yards on 6 catches. So great performance there. Terribly misspelled. Zach Ertz was next. Darren Fells and Eric Ebron were your top tight ends of the week. So any of these guys you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, Zach Ertz, Carson Wentz, second week back, so you know that was going to be a thing. And, even though you didn't get a touchdown at PPR, you definitely got a good production out of him, so that's pretty good.
Jason?
Oh, and nice to see Darren Fells' name. I mean, he's a decent tight end. He used to be a Cardinal. More of a blocking tight end, so I think this was just basically off of a touchdown, touchdown pass that he had. But, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it, guys. Njoku's still the guy in that offense.
Yeah, I agree. All right, duds of the week. This is the part where we empathize with each other, and we sing Kumbaya, and we try to get through the guys that let us down. Josh Allen, 1.94 fantasy points. Wow, terrible. I hope that nobody started him. Yeah. Oh, man, that's so bad. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 3.04, got pulled. Case Keenum, 7.8. Last-second heroics were not enough to help his fantasy week. Drew Brees, 8.58. They did it all through the ground, so he didn't have to do it through the air. The Saints won their game, didn't they?
Yeah, they won.
Yeah, they won against the Giants. I was going to say, they got it done on the road. Bring your road game or your run game when you're on the road. There you go. Russell Wilson, 8.98. Again, getting everything done through the ground. Sam Darnold, 13.48 fantasy points, and Josh Rosen, 14.5 fantasy points. Those were your duds of the week. Why is Sam Darnold colored here?
Because he was my sit.
I thought your sit was Baker Mayfield. Oh, no, he was. Baker Mayfield was your start. Oh, that's what it was.
Sam Darnold was my sit.
Well, you mean your start of the week? Hold on. No, sit. So yeah, that's not.
Sam Darnold was my sit of the week.
What is happening?
Okay, so that's mismarked.
Griffin's not listening to me. He's trying to think through it.
No. He
was my sit of the week.
Yeah, it's mismarked. Okay, again, we're children here. We use colors so we can quickly identify things. Sam Darnold was in red, saying that somebody screwed up on that. No, it was in green. It should have been in green. We did that well. So yeah, so good job, Jason. Your sit of the week, Sam Darnold, 13.48 fantasy points, and then Josh Rosen, 14.5. Don't judge us. We are children. Running back, Isaiah Correll was your biggest dud of the week. 0.3 fantasy points. LeGarrette Blount, 1.2. Dalvin Cook, 2 points. Jordan Howard, 2.5. Jamal Williams, 2.7. Derrick Henry, again, Jason Sit of the Week, 3.1. Leonard Fournette, 3.5. Oh, Leonard Fournette. LaShawn McCoy, 3.7. Javorius Buck Allen, 3.8. Rashad Penny, 4.9. Oh, Penny. Lamar Miller, 4.9. James Conner, 6.4. And Dion Lewis, 6.6. Those are your most notable running backs that let you down in week number 4. Wide receivers, this list just goes on and on. Ted Ginn, 0.1 fantasy points. Wow. Travis Benjamin, 0.2 fantasy points. Wow. J.J. Nelson, 0.4. Dropping passes.
JJ.
Yeah. Brandon Marshall, 0.5. Tavon Austin, 0.7. Mike Williams, I started you in so many leagues this week. 1.5 fantasy points. How do you only get 1.5 against the 49ers defense? Demaryius Thomas, 1.5. Keenan Cole, 1.5. Robbie Anderson, my sit of the week, 1.8. I still stand by that he is droppable. Danny Amendola, 2.1. Chris Godwin, 2.2. Nelson Aguilar, 2.2. Marquise Goodwin, 2.8. Jason sit of the week. Larry Fitzgerald, where was I going with that? 2.8. Michael Crabtree, 2.9. Alan Hearns, 3. Cameron Meredith, 3.2. Josh Gordon making his debut as a Patriot, 3.2. Kelvin Benjamin, 3.4. His counterpart, Zay Jones in Buffalo, 3.8. Kenny Stills, 4 points. Doug Baldwin returning, 4.1. Michael Gallup, 4.5. Yeah, nothing's going on in Dallas. Michael Thomas, 4.7. Again, they ran the ball. That's why Drew Brees and Michael Thomas were your duds, which is sad. Tyrell Williams, every single wide receiver, I almost said in San Diego, in Los Angeles with the Chargers was a dud this week. That's sad. Tyrell Williams, 4.8. Marvin Jones, 5.6. That was your start of the week, Jason.
Tyreek, the wrong Lion.
Whoops. That's why it's tough to pick one where they spread it out so much. Tyreek Hill, 5.6. Mike Evans, 5.9. They just couldn't get anything going. Juju Smith-Schuster, 6 points. Let's go, Ravens. Keenan Allen, 6.3. And Quincy Enunwa, 6.6. Those were some of the most notable wide receivers who let you down in week number 4. And the dumpster fire that is the tight end position. Oh, boy. Dwayne Allen, negative 0.4 fantasy points. A name that we kind of forgot about, and we're happy to forget about yet again.
And there's why.
Yeah. Will Disley, who suffered... Oh, I didn't put him in the news. Suffered a season-ending injury. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but 0.5 fantasy points. That's disappointing. He had a bad week last week, worse week this week, and then obviously he's now out for the season. That's very disappointing. Luke Wilson, 0.6 fantasy points. Dallas Goedert, 1.3. Gerald Everett, 1.3. Austin Hooper, 1.9. Benjamin Watson, again, no pass catchers to anything, 2.3. A lot of people are expecting a big game out of him this week. Jesse James, 2.3. Austin Safarian Jenkins, 2.4. Charles Clay, 4. Vance McDonald, 4.2. Rob Gronkowski also getting hurt, 4.4. Ricky Seals-Jones, 5.2. David Njoku, 5.2. And Kyle Rudolph, 5.7 fantasy points. Your top duds of the week. Guys, you may have actually started in your league. Woo!
Wow, that was impressive.
That's a lot of players that did not reach a minimum threshold for us for fantasy that are usually starters for us. Obviously, that means that a lot of names that you probably never have heard of before, ones you wouldn't normally start, did well. So maybe that worked out well for you in a deeper league, but in your more typical 12-man leagues, these are a lot of guys that let you down across all 4 starting fantasy positions. So that's really unfortunate. The guys who went big this week went off for massive point totals. Everybody else really not so much. So yeah, let's move on to the top headlines from around the league, and we'll start in Tampa Bay, where the Buccaneers have confirmed that quarterback Jameis Winston will be their starter when they come back from their Week 5 bye in week number 6. Guys, are you happy about this choice, or do you think that this is a rash decision that is being made?
A little bit of rash for me.
Yeah, I thought Fitzpatrick looked awesome up until this game, and I thought he was doing stuff that we had not seen even to this point in Jameis Winston's career, and he was doing it somewhat consistently. They're both turnover prone. I think that this was a little harsh, a little bit over the top of a reaction because, Winston didn't go in there and look any better. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that they were able to come to this conclusion so immediately. I thought they were going to take some time to really think about it, maybe see how practice went. But no, Jameis Winston, your starter in week 6. So I don't know. Any extra thoughts on this, guys?
Yeah, I think they're rushing here. I think that you got a guy that basically was leading the league in the first 3 weeks, and playing amazingly out of his mind, putting the ball down the field, putting you in position to win games.
Yep.
You don't just walk away from that. You get Jameis Winston's coming back, but Ryan Fitzpatrick is the hot hand. You don't walk away from the hot hand, and go back to someone who's going to be rusty, coming in off of suspension. So I think this was a bad decision.
And I know that generally, like, if this was like we make this argument with like Aaron Rodgers or something, people would say we're stupid. But this isn't Aaron Rodgers. This is Jameis Winston, and a guy who's got a lot of serious off the field issues that the team's questioning if they even want to re-sign him because they don't want him to necessarily be the face of their franchise. Like, there's a lot of reasons that I thought this would take longer to come to this decision than it did, but here we are. Let's go to the running back position, where Pittsburgh Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell expects to report to the team during the team's Week 7 bye. This comes per ESPN through some of their sources. I call shenanigans on this. I don't think that this is accurate after what happened with Michael Thomas. I think that he is going to hold out as long as possible. I don't see a reason why he would come back any sooner. I don't believe it. And when was the last time we heard he was going to report? Oh, he'll be back probably the fourth week of the preseason. Did he report? Not at all. So no. I'm not believing it until I see it. If fake news, I'm personally not buying this. What do you guys think?
Me neither. Not. I mean, he's shown, between him and his agents, when we actually hearing these news, this is not a thing. I mean, unless they. I know that they're at a point right now they can't do anything contractually wise as far as, you can be able to pay. They probably can be able to add something to his salary, but he wants a long-term deal. This is not what's going to happen right now.
Yep. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, I can't see this happening. There hasn't been any movement on his contract. He's already said he's not coming back until that happens. So, yeah, I don't see this happening.
I understand everybody want to jump on the hype train. If we're wrong, then we're wrong. Then great, you get Le'Veon Bell back sooner if you own him in fantasy leagues. But I personally would be more surprised if this happened than if it didn't. So that's where I stand with it, and we will see, obviously, in a handful of weeks. The team is also still reportedly interested in listening to trade offers for him, whether he reports or not. So that's also worth noting. Let's see. Let's go to Dallas, where Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett revealed that running back Ezekiel Elliott has been playing through knee and ankle injuries. Wonder why this is the first we're hearing about it, and it has been on the injury reports and all this other stuff. So, I don't know why he's volunteering this information at this point. What are your guys' thoughts on this news?
I don't know. It's the Cowboys, and they've been really weird this year. It's been very strange. I think maybe Elliott's been keeping his mouth shut and just finally said something. So now Garrett's saying something. I don't know.
Probably a little bit of both. Dallas is stupid. Yeah.
Wow. Why don't you let your Eagles fandom show that a little bit more there, CJ?
There you go.
Text CJ with your angry comments, guys.
Yeah. At CJ. Don't at the show. Don't at us.
At CJ.
At me.
Wow. Let's go to Atlanta, where Falcons head coach Dan Quinn said that he, quote, hopes that running back Devontae Freeman will return for week number 5, coming back from that knee injury. So are fantasy owners, really kind of hoping that he does. I don't know. Do you guys think that we're going to see Freeman come back in their game against they're in Pittsburgh this week, I believe, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm not sure about that one.
Can confirm. They are in Pittsburgh. Okay. The 1-3 Falcons playing the 1-2-1 Steelers. So a must-win game for both teams. And I think that they would very much like to have their starting running back, their 3-down back. So I don't know. Do you guys expect? I think he'll be back because he was close to playing this week. I think he will be back next week. What say you guys?
Yeah, I think that they're just waiting.
Yeah, I think they've been doing a good job holding off on this because this is one of their guys that they just paid recently. So you don't want to worsen that injury. But I think he'll probably be back.
Can I just point out also that there's only 2 teams on a bye in Week 5 as well? Why does the league want? Why does the NFL hate fantasy football? Why do they love these bye week apocalypses where like 6+ teams are on byes in 1 week? Oh, good Lord. Of course, Bears and Buccaneers this coming week. Side rant there. Sorry about that. Let's go to Jacksonville, where Jaguars head coach Doug Marrone said that he does not know how long running back Leonard Fournette will be out. Said that he is, quote, still feeling something in the hamstring that is pulling or catching. That's bad news, and he already missed 2 weeks. Played for barely any of this week before he left again. So what, was he missed 3 weeks this time? This is terrible news for Leonard Fournette owners. Man, I'm mad that he got dropped to me in our league of record, because now I'm stuck with him, even though I got him at a good price. You can't move the guy. You just got to kind of stick with him at this point. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on Leonard Fournette? I think he is very steadily heading towards getting an injury-prone designation next to his name in fantasy circles. What say you guys?
Yeah, consistency is what fantasy football is all about, and this dude has been consistently injured. So I've already pretty much put the injury star next to his name.
Yep, it's too bad too, because the Jags are on the road in Kansas City. That could be an interesting game. A good finally, like an elite defense against the Chiefs' offense. But I mean, the Jags might not be able to keep up at all without Fournette there. They've been struggling. They're 3-1. I'll give them that, but they have not been high-scoring affairs. So I'd love to see Leonard Fournette back, not just for my fantasy team, but for NFL football in general. But it does not seem to be the case. So yeah, let's move on. Cincinnati head coach Marvin Lewis said when asked about the status of running back Joe Mixon for week number 5, quote, "We'll see," end quote. I think that I know that he was given a 2 to 4 week designation, but by all accounts, he was decently mobile last week. I think that he will at least suit up this week. I don't know if maybe he doesn't get any snaps. I don't know. I could be completely wrong there. They're at home. They're hosting the Bengals. He's running and cutting. He's not practicing, so it's one of those things that we'll really just have to see as the week progresses. I don't know.
They are the Bengals.
Sorry, they're at home hosting the Dolphins. Sorry, the Dolphins Dolphins are heading to Cincinnati. I know.
My brain was confused for a second there.
Wait, he is a Bengal, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a Bengal, right?
Yeah. No, he got traded. CJ, surprise. So
he did.
Yeah, add more salt to the Kenyon Drake.
Breaking news.
Yeah, right. So what are your thoughts on Joe Mixon for week number 5?
I own some stock in Joe Mixon, so the sooner he comes back, the better. But a little bit of me is, hoping that they hold off on it, because I don't want him to go down again so quickly like he did this year. So I think like everybody else, you probably got proper depth where you can be able to hold off a couple weeks before you really need him, like towards the end of the season where he's probably going to be in his prime and when you're going to need to start stacking up some wins.
Yeah. Did you guys also see the report where Dalvin Cook said and quoted saying that he is less than 100%? That's great news.
That is awesome, especially if you spent over $50 for him in fantasy. So
glorious.
That's thank you for that, Dalvin.
Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh, when asked about running back Alex Collins' fumbling problems, said, quote, "Can't have it," end quote. This is why I never invest.
High-caliber analysis there from Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah,
I know, right?
I don't look. I'm a Ravens fan. I don't invest in Ravens players, especially running backs. They're like the tight ends. They always like to have a bunch of them. They haven't had a lead back since Ray Rice, and before that, Jamal Lewis. It's just one of those things where John Harbaugh also, if you fumble, he's like Bill Belichick. He will bench you so fast. When he fumbled on the goal line, when we could have gone up 3 touchdowns early in the game, I did not expect to see Alex Collins for the rest of the game. But then when the Steelers they were able to, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the first half, come back and tie it up, and we saw him in the second half, I was surprised, but I was like, okay, well, at least he saw the light and realized that we need him to make the offense work the way that we need it to. But yeah, I think if we were blowing out that game and continuing the pace that we were on through the first quarter, and the Steelers were completely out of it, we wouldn't have seen him. And then obviously that does you no good for fantasy. Alex Collins is a scary thing to have rostered right now. And look, I don't think that Javorius Allen, as you'll find him in your fantasy leagues, but he goes by Buck. I don't think Buck Allen is a guy that you're going to be wanting to race out there and start a lot, because his upside is not super high. I don't think he's as explosive. I don't think he's as good. He's not as productive per touch, but he's there. And so where do you split the difference? And then there's a third running back there as well, which we're not even going to get into. So it's tough to roster a guy like Alex Collins. There's a reason I didn't pursue him in any fantasy leagues. And this is scary stuff. If he keeps fumbling, he's going to keep coming out, and he's going to keep sinking your fantasy team. So if I was an Alex Collins owner, I would probably be looking to move him, if I'm honest. But I don't know. Maybe you have confidence in him. Maybe you think he's going to stop fumbling. I'd love to see him stop fumbling. What do you guys think?
I would love for him to stop fumbling.
That'd be nice, but I still wouldn't grab him. I'm just not. I'm not a believer in Alex Collins.
Fair enough.
He's so good, though. He's so good.
He's so decent.
Not good.
He's definitely
not
not
good. That
Is
first
he,
series of you guys,
he
was running really good. He was fighting for extra yards.
Yeah.
He's moving the chains.
Oh, no, I don't knock his work ethic. I think he's a very good running back. I think he's a hard worker, but he's not like an elite running back.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the big problem.
Too.
Also, Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll said that running back Mike Davis will continue to fit into the running back rotation even once Chris Carson comes back. I hate committees. So Chris Carson, a surprise inactive. We all thought Rashad Penny, therefore, hey, fire up Rashad Penny. He's going to get all the touches. And then Mike Davis comes out of nowhere and has the monster game, which makes Seattle look terrible for investing and moving up to get this guy in the first round, a guy that I should say nobody had as a first-round running back, which still kind of makes me laugh to this day. But yeah, that is terrible news if you're a Rashad Penny owner or if you've invested into this backfield at all. I would be looking to probably move on because this is just going to be confusing and I don't think consistent at all. Even if the other guys go down, the offense, it sputters a lot. And I wish we could give you guys some news on Melvin Gordon, but as of right now, I have not heard anything. He was being examined in a tent on the sideline early before the game was over, and I have not heard anything. Have you guys?
No, I haven't. I've been looking for something, but nothing's come out.
I have so much stock in Melvin Gordon. I need him to play. I can't lose to Jason. I'm 4-0 in our league of record. I can't lose to Jason this coming week, but I'm probably going to because I have so many bye-week problems, and now this.
Yeah, it's happening.
Fantasy football. Why do you do this to me? So, yeah, those were your running back top headlines. Let's go to wide receiver. Not a lot left in the news section. Houston Texans head coach Bill O'Brien said that Will Fuller, who was my start of the week, was removed from the game due to a hamstring injury, and they will, quote, see how it goes this week. That's not good. I mean, he's an injury-prone player. He's great when he's out there. He has obviously connection with Watson, but he's hurt now. So I don't know. That's not great news. I would not be surprised if he misses a week or two. What about you guys?
Same here. I mean, he started the season off like this, so he didn't play for the first 2 weeks, and then week 3 happened, he exploded. So I don't know. He's one of those players where you're hoping that you can be able to get consecutive. Maybe 4 or 5 games out of him or more because he's very good and he's dangerous. Like you said, the connection between him and Watson is crazy. I mean, the guy last couple of weeks has put over double-digit points, so that's phenomenal and that's great, especially as a wide receiver too. So it's gonna suck.
There you go. Jason, any thoughts?
No, not on this one. Pretty much, it's just a wait and see situation.
Fair enough. All right, and tight end position. New England Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski's ankle injury is not considered serious. This is per sources, and he is expected to be listed as questionable for Thursday Night Football versus the Indianapolis Colts. So I guess good news there because the fantasy landscape is just a dumpster fire for tight ends. They're at home hosting the Colts. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see them. Maybe we won't. It sounds like they're optimistic about it, but obviously we won't know until probably Thursday. So follow us on Twitter at the FF Fanatics for updates there. And Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh said that rookie tight end Hayden Hurst has a, quote, good chance to make his debut in Week 5. Coming back from his foot injury, yet another piece of congestion to add confusion to the Baltimore Ravens tight end position. Stay away. So, and then obviously the Will Disley injury, which was season-ending as well. We talked about that before. So that was your top headlines from around the league. With that, let's move on to why everybody's here. Our topic of the day, our top waiver wire targets for week number 5. And I am telling you guys to pick up Nyheim Hines, Indianapolis Colts running back. And the reason is quite simple. He's the starter there. The Marlon Mack experience, he's missed all this time. He's banged up. I think Nyheim Hines is in a position to have some good weeks upcoming. He's got the Patriots on a short week this week. He could be a guy that if you need to, plug and play. If you've got maybe players that are missing from the Buccaneers or the Bears this week, whatever the case may be, your running back woes, he could be a guy that could be a temporary fix and something that could potentially last for longer. He's only owned in 0.8% of leagues. So yeah, I'd be looking to add him this week. Go pick him up. CJ, your guy.
My guy, Nick Chubb, man. Look at him, man. He goes out there. What was it, on 3 touches and puts up all those yardage? Listen, man, you got this Cleveland offense now under control under the Baker Mayfield, man. You want to get a little piece of this, man. I got to be honest, man. I'm feeling like a nice little hot streak happen with this running game, man, especially those that can be able to catch the ball as well. And Nick Chubb, man, he's a beast, man. He's only owned in 43% of leagues, so he's probably out there for you, man. If you, like you said, we got people on buys this week, man. If you want to get some stock, want to replace some Chicago Bears, and what was the other team, Griffin, you said was going to buy?
Just Bears and Buccaneers this week.
Buccaneers. So the Chicago Bears, Buccaneers, you need to replace Jordan Howard and whatever that cluster garbage is for the Buccaneers second running backs. Hey, next up is your guy.
There you go, Jason, your guy.
I'm going to go with Mike Davis. Had a very, very good week, and he opened the eyes of Pete Carroll. And as we know, Pete Carroll is a very strange coach when it comes to these kinds of things. I could definitely see him tapping Mike Davis a lot more to get a lot more touches. We're talking about 25 touches in this game, went for 124 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns. So this guy is going to work his way into the rotation. I think it might end up being a two-headed beast with him and Chris Carson. Although Carson, we don't know how long it's going to take for him to be back to 100%. Rashad Penny is not a thing. So I think Mike Davis is going to give you an opportunity to have a really good upside. He is available in pretty much every single league. He's only owned at 0.1% of leagues.
There you go. Your top running back waiver wire targets of the week. Wide receiver targets. I am targeting Taylor Gabriel, Chicago Bears. Look, Taylor Gabriel, he's a name that we've all heard, but he's not necessarily the most beloved figure in fantasy football. He's bounced around the league a bit, and now he's with the Bears, but something you may not have noticed or heard about or looked into. He is 3 targets behind Allen Robinson for the most targets on the team. He's had 29 targets to this point of the season. He has 22 receptions, which leads the team in catches. And also, Anthony Miller, he's going to miss a couple weeks. He's out with a shoulder injury. So I think Taylor Gabriel gets a massive upgrade. He's a good wide receiver 3/flex option for you. And based on the matchups going forward, he could be even better. So I would definitely be looking to add Taylor Gabriel this week. He's only owned in 0.5% of leagues, guys. So he is widely available. And a guy that you're going to be able to get for almost nothing because the Bears are on a bye this week. So I would definitely be trying to pick up Taylor Gabriel. CJ, your guy.
Guy I look at is, man, D.D. Westbrook, man. Blake Bortles gets the ball to this guy, man. He's been using possession catches, man. He got a good route running, man, to get out in open space. I like this dude, man. He's only out there. He's only owned in 39% of leagues, man. So he's definitely out there if you need a spot, a replacement for Deshaun Jackson, Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, all those guys, man. Hey, this is your dude.
There you go. Jason, your guy.
Guy that I've had my eye on for a couple of weeks now, Tyler Boyd over there in Cincinnati. This guy is really good. 91 yards against Baltimore, 132 yards against Carolina, and 100 yards this week against Atlanta. I mean, he's getting a lot of targets. He actually was the most targeted receiver on the team this last week. That includes A.J. Green. So this is a guy that obviously Dalton is comfortable throwing the ball to. I think he's going to continue to get lots of production, and when he scores a touchdown, he's going to win you some weeks.
There you go. So those are your top wide receiver targets on the week. My top tight end target. Again, I'm targeting a player who is on a bye week. Means you can probably get him for close to nothing because people aren't going to invest high on guys they can't use right away. I am picking up Cameron Brate. He was a favorite of the show 2 years ago. O.J. Howard was drafted last year. You guys were higher on him than I was. I turned out to be right in the end. Guess what? O.J. Howard, another tight end that went down to an injury. Cameron Brate is back in, and he is alone in the backfield. Jameis Winston is back and starting. They had a great connection in the past. I think that Cameron Brate all of a sudden sneaks into being a tight end 1, and he's a guy that you can start with confidence week in and week out. Obviously on a bye this week, but then listen to this lineup. They've got the Falcons, where that's going to be a shootout. That'll be fun. Cleveland, we've seen that tight ends can beat the Browns. We just saw that this week. The Bengals have not been strong against the tight ends. Carolina, Washington, Giants, 49ers. I mean, they've got some decent matchups on the horizon. I think Cameron Brate is going to eat, and he's only owned in 5.7% of leagues. Go pick up Cameron Brate. CJ, your guy.
I like your pick, man. Listen, my guy is Austin Seferian-Jenkins, man. Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, he's a hit and miss guy. But, man, when he hits, man, like I said, man, anything over 7 points for the tight end position is money and it's gold. So, look, he didn't hit this week. But look, I gotta fill in this week, man. He's only owned in 43% of leagues, man. Hey, man, he get the PPR targets. Blake Bortles be looking for him, man. He just needs time. So, look, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, I think it's a good replacement.
There you go.
Trey Burton this week.
There you go. Jason, take us home.
All right, so CJ and I like our hyphenated last names. I'm going to go with Ricky Seals-Jones. I've talked about him a couple times already. The main reason I like this guy is because Josh Rosen being the quarterback, I think he's going to get a lot more usage from Josh Rosen throwing the ball to him. He did have a great game against Chicago, an okay game against Seattle. I think his opportunities are going to increase. He is available. He's only taken in 3.1% of leagues, so he's out there. I would get him, stash him on your bench until he starts really scoring some points.
And there you go, your top tight end targets of the week. 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 3 tight ends, all the ones at the top of our individual lists. Those are guys that can help your teams going forward. And with that, we are out of here. Make sure you guys tune in on Friday when we will be back to give you all of our top starts and sits recommendations for week number 5. Oh, guys, we're a quarter of the season down. We can finally start using analytics to our advantage. At least I know I can. So, yay, that's super exciting. Make sure you guys also follow us on Twitter at the FF Fanatics for injury updates. You can follow us individually. I'm at GPalmerFFF. CJ's at CJHickman89. Jason is at JasonCabrera13. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening. We're a year-round show. Get your questions in. Any parting thoughts, guys?
Hey, man. Thursday Night Football. Should be an okay game.
Should be an interesting game, yeah. I don't know if anything's going to touch Vikings at Rams this year.
Oh, no, that was really good.
I stand by that. Those are probably my top 2 contenders for the NFC Championship game, and to see them in prime time was amazing.
Whoa.
The Eagles are also in the mix for me, but those are my top 2.
All right.
I know, CJ. Oh, calm down. But look, the Patriots, they're gonna rally. They're gonna win their division, but they're not 100% right now. The Colts definitely aren't 100%. It should be a good game, but I don't think it's as good as it could be. But I could also be wrong. That's the beautiful thing about Thursday Night Football. Less preparation. It's more on the backs of the talented players, and they're either really bad or really good, and they've been pretty good lately. So hopefully that trend continues. I'll be watching the game, pretty excited. I don't have a lot of fantasy interest in this game, though. Do you guys?
I got a lot of defensive players for the Colts.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's been pretty good. IDP quest.
Yeah, well, there you go. I learned something. Jason, any parting thoughts?
Pretty much nobody in that game for me. So, yeah, but it'll be a fun game to watch, I think. I think it'll be a good game.
I think so, too. So, we'll be back on Friday talking about that game, recapping all the news throughout the week, and, of course, giving you the starts and sits. So, everybody, take care. Have a great week. We'll see you then. Bye.
Oh, and that's so funny. You lost to Griffin.
Oh, man, I thought I was going to lose that game. I thought for sure I was going to lose that game. But my team rallied. Yes.
Yeah. So the club is coming back.